Good morning dear students. Welcome to the English class. In this class of video today, we are going to talk about the rest of the lesson, that is of studies. And this of studies is written by the Francis Bacon, and we already came to know that what exactly the Francis Bacon, and we discussed a very brief introduction about life history of Francis Bacon. And he was born in London, and he was regarded as the father of English essays, and we already came to know that his father was Nicholas Bacon. And these were the some life history details of some life history of Francis Bacon. And in the previous class we discussed that what are the advantages of studies according to the Francis Bacon, and at the same time what are the disadvantages of studies according to the Francis Bacon, and what are the types of people, how many types of people are there. So we have here, according to the Francis Bacon, there are three types of people. The very first kind of people are cunning and crafty people. So what do cunning and crafty people do? They dislike studies and they don't want to apply practical knowledge. They avoid using practical knowledge in their life. So that is what cunning and crafty people do. And whereas other kind is a very simple people, ordinary people. You know, these simple and ordinary people admire studies. They appreciate studies in their real life. And another type is a wise people. So you know, wise people use studies in their real life very well, and they earn something by using knowledge which they get from the studies. And these are the three kinds of people according to the Francis Bacon. And we already came to know that advantages and disadvantages. Now in this class of video today, we are going to talk about some rules of studying books, and how studies reform the character of the person, and how studies cure the illness of the person, illness of one individual. Already in initial part of the lesson we have a question that how does studies cure the illness of the studies, will illness of the person or illness of the individual illustrated. Now let us clarify answer for the question we had in the first class. Now Francis Bacon here mentioned some rules of going through the books, some rules of study books, and we study and we go through the number of books for number of purpose, for plenty of purpose, and plenty of books are there for different purpose. But here, do you read books in the same way? So here, according to the Francis Bacon, books are not to be read for different purposes. The purpose are some rules of Francis Bacon going to the books is that here, not study to contradict. That means we should not study the books, we should not read the books for contradict or for arguing with other people. That is the first and foremost rule prescribed by the Francis Bacon. Here, when we read the book, we may get some sort of knowledge, and this knowledge is not to be used to argue with the people. So that is the first rule of the Francis Bacon reading the books. So very first rule is that we should not go through the book, we should not read the book only for the purpose of arguing or contradicting with the people. We should obey others people's opinion also. So we should not blindly argue with others' opinion. So that is a very bad thing according to the Francis Bacon. And the very next one is that not believe whatever you read in the book. I think you may have gone through the books, and some information has been written in the book, and you understand the information which is written in the book and which you have gone through the book. And here, whatever the information, whatever the content which is written in the book, which you understood from the book, should not be believed blindly. You should have an open mind. You should analysis whether the information you have studied in the book, whether the information you have grasped from the book is right or wrong. You should not believe whatever the information which is written in the book. So that is another rule of the studying or reading a book according to the Francis Bacon. The very first rule is that you should not read the books for arguing with other people or contradicting with other people. Second rule of the reading book is that we should not blindly believe whatever the information which is, whatever the content which is written in the book. And the third rule of the reading book is that be an impartial. Be an impartial. This is very important point according to the Francis Bacon. For example, you should not be very partial. You should not be very partial with the content or with the writer or with the books. You should be very impartial. You should treat all the books in an equal manner. You should not give priority, or you should be partial to some other books, or we should not be impartial to other books. Here, you should treat all books are equal, and you should give priority to according to the knowledge which is written, which is mentioned in the book. So therefore, here Francis Bacon mentioned that one particular rule is that you should be very impartial. You should evaluate the book. It is not according to the writer's name, it is not according to the front page of the book. So you should evaluate with the open mind. That is very important. And here see, you should have an open mind. So openly you should evaluate the book, and you should have an open mind whether the book is right or wrong. And you should not be very partial of going through the book. That is very important. And you should have a critical judgment. You should criticize the judgment when the book is not good. When the book is good, when the content of the book is good, you should appreciate the content or the book. That is very important. So that here, as a student, you should have a critical judgment of every book you have gone through. So these are some rules according to the Francis Bacon. The very first rule is that we should not go through the book, we should not read the book for contradicting or arguing with the purpose, arguing with the people. You should have to believe the other people's opinion also. You should not blindly argue with the people. And the very second rule is that whatever the information that is mentioned, whatever the content that is written in the book should not be believed blindly. You should have some idea over the information which is written, or whether the information is right or wrong. That is very important. And be an impartial. You should treat all the books equally. You should give priority to all the books equally based on their content, right? And you should have an open mind. So when you go through the book, you should have an open mind. You should think whether the book is right or wrong. Okay, and based on the information. And you should have a critical judgment. You should judge by criticizing. If the matter is not good, judge the books. So these are some rules and regulations prescribed by the Francis Bacon. And here other important thing is that do we read all the books the same way? And do books have same character and same name? And we have studied a number of books. We may gone through many books. But here, do you read all books in a same way? So it is not happen. Here, according to the Francis Bacon, some books are to be tasted, some other books are to be swallowed, whereas some other books are swallowed and digested. So here we should not read all the books in same way. Here there are types of books. The very first type of book is that very ordinary books. Some ordinary books, so we may skip through the pages when the content of the book is not good, when the information of the book is not good, very ordinary book. So what do? We read only some parts of the book. We should not read the entire parts of the book, because the content of the book is not good. So that we may skip through the pages. So when the information or when the content of the book is not good, we may skip through the pages. That means the book is not up to the mark. The book is not up to the mark in the field of knowledge. So that we may skip through the pages. So very ordinary books. And another type of books are that read completely. And so actually when the book is important, when the book is ready, and we may go through the book during our leisure time, and we may read some sort of books for the purpose of curiosity, when we are very curious to know something about, and we may go through the book completely without skipping the pages. And this is other kind of the book. Whereas when you see the other kind of book is that read carefully and digest it. Because when you read carefully, so when the content of the book is right, when the matter which is written in the book is good and very interesting, then what do? We go through the book very carefully, and we go through the book line wise, and we understand the gist of the paragraph, or we understand the concept of the each and every paragraph very carefully, and we digest it. We digest in the sense we make out the information, the content or the matter of the book which is lies in the book. So here, that is how books are of different types. And another type is that averaged books are also there. Averaged books in the sense like distilled water. What do you mean by the word distilled water? So the water is very fresh and looking so colorless and so fresh, and but the taste of the water is not good. So looking polished, but the taste, the content is not good. Here some books are also just like distilled water, condensed water, condensed book. They are looking very polished, but the content of the book is not good. And these books are normally read by the some practitioners, some assistants. So according to the Francis Bacon, and these are the types of book according to the Francis Bacon. The very first type of book is very ordinary book, and we may skip pages because the content of the book is not up to the mark. And second type of book is we study some books, we read some books only for the sake of the curiosity. Here for the sake of the curiosity. And whereas some other books are very important because their form and content is very good, and the matter which is lies in the book is very important. Therefore, we read the books completely without skipping the pages, and by going through the book paragraph wise, and we understand the gist of the paragraph of the book, and we digested whatever the information which is lies in the book. That is the other type. And finally, the last type of books are here abridged books, condensed books, or just like distilled water. So distilled water is very looking very pure, but the taste of the water is not good. In such a way, some books are like distilled water, but their form and content is not up to the mark. Therefore, these books are duly preferred by the assistants. Okay, so till now we talked about some rules which were prescribed by Francis Bacon, and some types of books. What are the types of books here according to the Francis Bacon? And now coming to the how studies form the character. So in what way we change our personality? So in what way studies help us? So this is very, very important, and from this you may get a question in the examination. So here reform character. How studies reform character? And in our education we may study different types of subject, and each type of subject has its own value and own importance, isn't it? So definitely every subject has its special value, and we may study every subject for a different purpose. So here, according to the Francis Bacon, there are some books or some subjects are mentioned, and how each subject personified the character of the personality, or how each subject design the character or reform the character of the personality. So here, according to the Francis Bacon, history, and we know history is nothing but the past events. We study history to recall all the past events. So we study history. So how does history make us? History make us to enhance our wisdom. So that is a purpose, that is the reason why we study history. The main importance of history is that every book of history make us enhance, that means double our wisdom, double our knowledge. That is the priority or the importance of history. And next, poetry. Poetry is nothing but the study of poems. The study of poems is nothing but poetry. And reading poetry is completely different from the reading prose lessons. As we have already 5 lessons from the prose and 5 lessons from the poetry. And going through the poetry is not very easy as going through the prose lessons, because in every word in the line of every poetry is very difficult. So that to understand the poetry, you should have a imaginative mind. One who has an imaginative mind can understand the poetry. So that here, by reading poetry can makes you very imaginative. Reading poetry makes you very imaginative. So this is C. Reading poetry makes you very imaginative because it is slightly different, slightly difficult than reading prose lessons. Right? So that you should have an imaginative mind. Okay. Now another subject is mathematics. So as you are all MPC student, so mathematics is very important subject. So out of all subject, mathematics is very important subject. And how does mathematics change our personality? How does mathematics important in every student's life? Here see, mathematics, if you are reading mathematics, if you study mathematics well, definitely you would be very clever and quick in grasping something. So if you are a genius at mathematics, definitely you are a very clever person. If you are good at mathematics, definitely you would be a clever person and you would grasp the information in a quick way. So that is how important mathematics in our life is. Okay, now you understand. So how mathematics is important. If you are studying mathematics very well, that means you are very clever. That means you are quick in grasping information very fast. And next, another natural science. Natural science, how does natural science reform our character? That is depth of mind. That means natural science increases the depth of mind. Depth of mind is in sense the way you think. So the way you think is depth of mind. How you think something about. That means you have a long thinking mind. So that is natural science makes you depth of mind. And here morality. So studying the morals. Like core values or like ethical values. So studying the morality makes you very grave in the sense very important person, very important, or makes you very strong or very sincere, right? And finally, logic and rhetoric. Logic and rhetoric. Here rhetoric is nothing but the ability of speaking or writing very effectively or cleverly. That is what exactly is rhetoric. So when you study the subject like logic and rhetoric, what logic and rhetoric makes you is that argue well. So when you have some sort of knowledge over the rhetoric or logic, you would argue with the people very well because you have that kind of content within you. So these are some rules which are prescribed by Francis Bacon, and so some sort of books which are prescribed by the Francis Bacon. And also, how does studies reform our character? How does studies reform our character? And now we have another point, another question. What is the question that we discussed in the initial start of the lesson? That is, how does studies cure our illness? Now let us talk about how does studies cure our illness. Now, how studies cure our disease? So as we discussed this point in the form of question at the starting of the lesson, how does studies cure our illness? And here studies cure the illness of the mind. So here, as we have some physical exercises to cure some physical problems of every body. So generally, if you take example of here, see, we go for physical exercises regularly, and most of the people are having been habituated for going or walking early in the morning or performing different kinds of physical exercises only to cure their physical problems. So here, how a physical problems will be cured by practicing some physical exercises like, for example, if you take bowling, and the bowling, it is a physical activity. So by bowling, by throwing a ball, it is throwing a ball is a bowling. So by bowling, one can cure the illness of the kidneys if there are any problems in kidneys. So by bowling a ball, by throwing a ball, one can cure the kidney problems. So and next shooting, shooting is good for lungs. So when you have a physical exercise, when you practice shooting something, so automatically if there are any problems related to the lungs, definitely all the problems will be cured. And walking is good for digestion. Generally, people walk early in the morning or every evening or every morning for the purpose of making their fat reduce. So, how does the fat reduce? If their digestive system works very healthy, if their digestive system work very fast or very in a right manner, definitely there may not be fat development. So that this walking is very good for their digestive system. And these are some physical exercises for physical problems of everybody. So these are the exercises and these are the problems, and how these problems will cured by physical exercising in such a way. Similarly, how a physical exercises cure the problems of a body, in such a way the problem of mind can also be cured by following the subject. These are the subject like a physical exercises, and these are the problems cured by these subject. So when you study mathematics, mind wandering. So the problem of mind wandering would be reduced when you study mathematics. Your mind wanders. That means when you think a lot, when your mind is wandering or when your mind is searching, definitely when you study mathematics, the problem of your mind, that is mind wandering, would be reduced. And this mind wandering would be reduced only because of studying mathematics. So that is how mathematics help us to stop our mind wandering. And next, another important subject here is that scholastic philosophy. Scholastic philosophy. So here, this scholastic philosophy helps us to stop muddled thinking. Here, muddled thinking means confused thinking. For example, when you are in a problem, so you may think very confusing way. So this muddled thinking would be reduced when you study scholastic philosophy. So through scholastic philosophy, your muddled thinking would be stopped, and so you would think in a perfect way. And next, studying law is the right medicine. Studying law is a right medicine to cure a bad memory. If you have any bad memories, it is better to study law. By studying the law, all your bad memories would be reduced. So this is how studies cure our illness of the mind, as exercises, as physical exercises cure the physical problem of the body. So this is according to the Francis Bacon. If you are asked a question, how does studies cure the illness of the mind? So studies cure the illness of the mind. So likewise, as physical exercises cure the physical problems of the body, so studies also cure the problem of the mind. So these are the things, and these are the rules and regulations, and these are the advantages and disadvantages of study, and how many kinds of people are there, and what were the rules that were prescribed by Francis Bacon to study the books, and what are the different types of the books, and how these types of books are helpful in our real life. So this is all about the lesson Francis Bacon. If you understand this lesson, if you like this video, please subscribe our channel RK Media. Thank you very much. Thank you all.